With Cataclysm out and the raids fast approaching, we've got to get geared up fast so we can get inside. The biggest thing standing between us and that loot, though, it's not going to be Deathwing's Flames. Instead, it's going to be burning out from so many reputations, the long leveling grind to 85, the insanely expensive level 85 items. That's why you need to get raid ready in the minimum number of steps, so you don't burn out for good. Every single Cataclysm fan is gonna want to enter those raids on May 30th. Phase 1 of Cataclysm is bringing some of the best raids in the expansion. Bastion of Twilight bringing us on that collision course with the legendary Cho'Gall. Even certified Cataclysm dislikers have to admit that Cho'Gall's Twilight Hammer is one of the coolest looking weapons in WoW history. And you don't want to be on the bench during Blackwing Descent and Onyxia 2 Reloaded. In order to get inside those sweet raids though, you're gonna need some BiS gear. Your raid leader's not gonna be letting you inside with anything less than 346 item level pre-BiS gear. Don't worry though, I want to get you geared up in record time so you can get in your raid and you don't get burned out either. Hardcore WoW fans though that have that aspiration to clear heroics the first week, they're gonna have a much more burnout inducing route to take. Those players are going to even have to go for 359 item level BiS gear from archaeology and even reputations. So jumping into our pre-BiS process, we need to know exactly what we need to get first. The way that savvy players plan their pre-BiS gear is they use a website called 60 Upgrades. You go to the Cataclysm tab and you can select a level 85 character, and that way you can set up your pre-BiS. So during this process, I definitely recommend pulling up a second tab, and that's where you put your Wowhead pre-BiS list. And you can find that from the guide section on the homepage. Then you're going to go down the list of slots and you're going to pick the item that makes the most sense for your week 1 goals. You're either going to want to prioritize the normal modes week 1, and that means like a very chill gearing process, or you can prioritize doing heroic raids the first week, and that process to get the 359 gear is going to be way more arduous. So let's talk normal players first, the ones that want to avoid that spontaneous burnout the first week. Those players are going to want to add 346 item level gear from heroic dungeons to their 60 upgrades list. The normal mode players are also going to want to add any sort of crafted gear as well, the cheapest possible. And they're also going to even want to plan out farming so they can get those materials themselves. For me, the Dreamless belt is going to be this insane belt I can just buy. So I'm going to be able to save a lot of time and I won't have to do very many Blackrock Caverns heroics. So as for reputation pieces, skipping those exalted pieces the first week is really going to prevent burnout. And at the same time, I do not recommend doing archaeology if you're going for the more casual route the first week either. Also, the normal mode players, you're going to want to pick a couple of Justice Point pieces to put in your 60 upgrades as well. And I like to put them in the most annoying possible spots that you really don't want to have to go out and get. So for my other character, my Resto Druid, the helmet options are so bad that I'm just going to head to the vendor and buy Justice Point gear for the helmet. Alright, we've talked normal mode gamers. Let's talk heroic mode raiders the first week. The legends of our sport, they're going to be needing to add true pre-BiS to their 60 upgrades in every slot possible. The thing is though, an insane 8 of my mages' 359 item level pre-BiS options, they're bind on equip. That means if you've got hundreds of thousands of gold, going full pre-BiS is actually not as hard as it seems. And yes, that does include the disgustingly expensive Dark Moon deck I want, the Volcano deck. I know everybody's going to want a Dark Moon card this phase. Which one are you aiming for, or are you skipping them because they're too expensive? On top of viable items, Heroic Raiders Week 1, they're going to want to push for a minimum of Revered with their specific Cata factions. That's going to be for not only the 359 item level gear, but also for the enchants too. On my mage, for example, I'm going to be prioritizing Revered with Guardians of Hyjal, so I can grab my head enchant immediately. If you're looking to be a heroic gamer though, you're going to want to add even more 359 items to your list from Exalted Reputations too. And that's not all either, because pro-heroic players, they're going to want to smash out their Archaeology as well for those key weapons, Zinrock, the Staff of Sorcerer Thane Thracian too. Do you think it was Deathwing that designed Archaeology to ruin our lives, or was it... Oh my god! So you've got your pre-BiS list done in 60 upgrades. Now it's time to make a list of all the revered factions, or in the case of heroic raiders, the exalted factions you're going to be working towards. I'd also recommend adding in the heroic dungeons you'll want to prioritize running. So in my case, I just made a Google Doc, I added a checklist to it, and that makes completing everything in Cataclysm just so much easier. So now our first order of business, after all of our planning, we're going to have to hit level 85, of course. So I'd highly recommend using all your bonus RDF experience per week and doing all the dungeon quests as your biggest priority if you're still on 85. In between dungeons though, you're definitely going to be wanting to quest as well because you've got to gain faction reputation. In my case, I went straight for Hydral reputation, so I was making sure to quest near Hydral as this ultimate priority. The reason for that is I wanted to get the tabard at friendly so I could blast dungeons at 85 for maximum rep. So our next goal after we're 85 is to hit 329 item level as fast as we can. The reason for that is that we want to queue random dungeon fighter heroics for the Pre-BiS Gear we planned, so I recommend putting on the tabard of one of the factions you wrote down on your checklist. So in my case, the Hydral tabard goes on. So while you're queuing those normal dungeons, they're going to be dropping pieces up to 333 item level. So at the same time with your tabard on, you're also going to be working towards free gear from the reputation vendors too. You're going to need 6 to 8 pieces of 333 item level gear, and so you want to mix between normal dungeons and reputation gear as well. Unfortunately for poorer players though, or perhaps fortunately for the rich ones, there is a lot of crafted gear you can get if you just have gold. Every single epic 359 piece you get is going to be saving you a ton of time in those normal mode spams. An alternative trick though for savvy players is just to completely bypass the RDF system. You can actually just run heroics as a group, and every single drop's going to be those 346 pieces you desperately need. The trade-off, though, is that those heroics are going to be really, really hard, so you better have a great group. So now we've hit the 329 item level, and we can finally queue heroics and spam them. So that's basically our life now for the rest of Cata. We're going to be picking a reputation from one of our Pre-BiS pieces or our enchants, right? We're going to be picking the tabard for the reputation we need, and then we're going to be spamming heroics that give us those Pre-BiS pieces while we're wearing our tabard. In between, if you're a heroic raider, you should be digging as much as humanly possible until the raids come out. Personally, I'm going to be skipping archaeology. It's just too RNG, it's not worth it for me. But I'm curious about you guys. Are you going to be blasting archaeology in Cata? Whether you are or not though, you should definitely be attempting to acquire BOE gear too, as cheaply as you can. And you can do that by haggling, you can even farm materials yourself. So you might be surprised to hear, this is pretty much the entire gearing process. Ultimately, planning your gear is really the most crucial step, because if you have the 60 upgrades, and you have your document of all the reputations to work on, it makes it really straightforward on what to do next. Then it's just this matter of sticking to your plan and going down your checklist one by one by one. If you repeat this process with all your reputations, all the gear you need from heroics, you're going to be ready for raids in no time, and you're not going to have any chance of burning out. So whether you're going for a 346 item level gear, or the 359 to slay the heroics, you're going to have everything you need for Onyxia 3 Revolutions, or whatever other boss you want to fight. Thank you so much for watching. Subscriptions won't bring back Mankirk's wife, but we've got to try. And you should definitely check out the insane things Blizzard devs said about the future of Cata and Season of Discovery too. Click me to watch that right now.